Hello everybody, it's Jeff from Close to Home with the November block of the month for a stroll by the seaside. This one is called Porthole. I hope everybody had a great Thanksgiving. We're heading into the holiday season. Check by the store, we got some great sales going on machines, fabric, and all kinds of things. So come on by, but let's get to this month's block, Porthole. Here are the pieces that we're going to cut for this month's block. From the focus fabric, you're going to cut two 3.5 inch by 3.5 inch squares and two 4 inch by 4 inch squares. From accent number 1, that's my turquoise, you're going to cut four 4 inch by 4 inch squares. From accent number 2, you're going to cut two 3.5 inch squares and 8 2 inch by 3.5 inch rectangles. And then from the background, you're going to cut two 4 inch by 4 inch squares, four 2 inch by 2 inch squares, as well as two 5 inch by 7 inch rectangles. We're going to prepare our triangles with our triangle squared ruler or the template provided with your pattern. You're going to start with your 4 inch accent squares. Align one of the edges with your 3.5 inch mark on your triangle squared ruler, or if you're using your template, with the bottom edge of the template, and you are going to cut 4 of these triangles. Then we're going to use our perfect rectangle ruler. So for this, you're going to take your 5 inch by 7 inch rectangles and you're going to fold them in half with the wrong sides together. That fold is along the long 7 inch edge, so you'll fold it just like that. And then you're going to use your perfect rectangle ruler to line up the bottom and then the top with the 4.5 inch mark on that perfect rectangle ruler. Or again, if you are using your triangle template 2, you're going to use that again, aligning the bottom edge with the top and the bottom. And then you will end up, when you unfold everything, from each rectangle you're going to get 2 left and 2 right triangles. So all completed, you're going to end up with 4 left and 4 right triangles. And then we're just going to prepare some of our squares for half square triangles. So you're going to take your 4 4 inch background squares and your 4 2 inch background squares and mark a line from corner to corner on the back of the fabric. We're going to make some half square triangles next. So you're going to take your 4 inch background squares that you marked, and you're going to pair those with your 4 inch focus fabric squares with the right sides together. You're going to stitch a 1/4 inch on each side of the marked line, then cut on that marked line, press your seams toward the focus fabric or open if you prefer, and then trim those finished squares to 3.5 inches by 3.5 inches, and you'll end up with 4 of these half square triangles. Now we're going to do our squared triangles. So you're going to start with your accent number 1 triangle. That's my teal here. And you're going to line up 2 of the background triangles on each side. Remember, when you cut those background triangles, you have 2 different shapes. So make sure that those are lined up so that they're going to turn out right when you're done. Then you can take one of them and you're going to put it right sides together on top. Make sure you leave an overhang pretty much equal on both sides of that background triangle over the accent number 1 triangle. Then you're going to sew your 1/4 inch. You can iron that toward the background triangle. Do the same thing on the other side. So the 1/4 inch, iron that toward the background triangle. And then you are going to take this and trim this block to 3.5 inches by 3.5 inches. If you notice here in the picture, I aligned it with my the top point with my 1 3/4 mark on my square ruler here. And that allows me to have that even. And when I trim it to 3.5 inches squared. In all, you're going to make 4 of these triangles. Now we're going to take one of those triangles we just made and we're going to add 2 of the 2 inch by 3.5 inch rectangles that we cut to either side, and you're just going to sew those on, iron toward the rectangles or open if you prefer, and repeat to make 4 of these strips. For the center, we're just going to make a simple 4 patch. So you're going to take your 2 3.5 inch focus fabric squares and your 2 of your 3.5 inch accent number 2 squares, and just create a 4 patch just as shown, alternating. So those rows together, and then sew the top to the bottom, and you will end up with your center there. And the last step before the final construction is we're going to take that 4-patch center and we're going to snowball it. What that means is you're going to place your 4 2-inch background squares. You're going to place them right on the corners just as shown. I'm just doing all 4 at once in this picture. Obviously I'm doing one at a time as I'm sewing them. And we're going to stitch and flip these. So you're going to sew on the marked line. Again, when I say sew on the marked line, just a hair over helps it iron nice when you once you turn those over, because you're going to trim a 1/4-inch seam, iron those toward the small triangles, and you'll end up with your 4-patch snowball center. Then we just put everything together. So your final block consists of your 4 half-square triangles for the corners, your rectangle triangle strips on the edges in between, and then your snowball 4-patch in the center. You're going to sew the rows together of these, then you're going to sew the top to the bottom, and you have our finished block porthole for this month. I hope everybody has a very happy holidays. The next block won't be till after Christmas, so everybody have a Merry Christmas if you celebrate, and I will see you for the last block of the year on December 26th. Thank you.